Hi there, I'm Dan Goodine, and today we're going to be installing a new power steering pump pulley on a Gen 2 Dodge Viper. This is sort of preventative maintenance. For those of you that don't already know, chances are you do since you're watching this video, but the OEM factory pulley is made out of a composite plastic that dries, gets cracked, and will leave you stranded. If you haven't already replaced yours, just like everybody you've probably heard, you probably should. There are many different size pulleys and also styles. Start with the style. This is your basic steel pulley. You can get these for about $10, $15. It's pretty thick stuff. This guy isn't going to break. You can spend tons of money and get a nice billet aluminum polished pulley. Don't get me wrong, I'm just as much of a sucker as anybody for a nice shiny polished bits on your car, but when it comes to the power steering pump pulley, because of the hood design on this and how it opens, you're not staring at it from the front like you would on a normal car, so you're kind of looking at it from the back, and from the back you're only going to be able to see just a little top portion of that nice shiny expensive pulley. So in my opinion, it's not really money well spent on that, just because you're not getting a lot of show for your dollar. And for a $10, $15, you can avert a problem. So as far as different sizes go, there are some people out there that recommend, say, or will sell you different size pulleys. I recommend against that just because you don't want to run the risk of overdriving or underdriving your power steering pump. All right, so for today's job, there's not a lot of things we need. Pretty easy job. We've got the power steering pump pulley, already talked about that, and we also have a pulley, puller, and installer set. This particular one is a Gear Wrench brand. You're going to find a huge range with these guys. You can go to an auto parts store and you can rent it, and they're pretty decent ones because they do rent them out and they don't like them breaking on them. This particular one is a Gear Wrench. It's a decent brand. The puller itself holds up well. This is about $50 to $60 for this set. You can find them as cheap as $15 on Amazon or $20 at Harbor Freight. I would highly recommend against going with a cheap puller. Read some reviews. Tons of people have these things break off inside, or they use them once and they completely strip out. It's really not worth the headache. This set here is pretty decent, comes with everything you need, and it holds up really well. Again, you get what you pay for. I wouldn't go out and spend a couple hundred on a Mac or a Snap-on unless you already have it. This is a close-up of how the removal tool works and also how to use it as an install tool. First off, you have these two pieces here. The smaller diameter is what's going to fit on this pulley, just like that, and this ring goes around it. Once we put these on, we put this in the middle, like so. And then you have a jam bolt like this, which goes against the shaft. When this gets tightened down, it comes out the other side and pushes on the shaft and removes the pulley. In order to put the pulley back on, you need to remove this. Find out which one of these bolts fits the inside threads of your power steering pump shaft. Thread this into the shaft, and then you're going to place a washer on the new pulley and a bearing. This is actually bearings inside of here. On top of that, then this bolt, this nut, the jam bolt, will then thread on to that bolt that you already put in the power steering pump shaft. Once it threads on, you then hold this and start turning this nut, which is going to push this whole assembly on. There's a couple of things you'll want to remove just to get them out of your way and make it a little bit easier. First is this tube going to your air box. Just tuck it out of the way for now. And then also we've got an 8mm These aren't stock clamps, so your size may be a little bit different. Once you have these two out of the way, it's time to remove the serpentine belt. To remove the serpentine belt, place the 15mm on a long extension. Just pull to release tension on the tensioner. You slip it off the pulley. Try not to let the whole belt fall down below. You don't want it coming off of the bottom pulleys. Make your job a lot harder getting it back on. The next step is to remove the 3 bolts holding the pump on. You can do this through the holes in the stock pulley. To remove the bolts, you can use a 1/2-inch socket and extensions through the holes in the pulley, or you can also use a wrench. Several different ways to do it. You have to reconfigure your setup for the bottom bolt also. You can get the bottom bolt just using a ratchet and an extension, a 1/2-inch socket through the hole in the pulley. Once the pump is loose, you can turn it on its side and get the extractor on the pulley. You should be able to leave the hydraulic line and return line attached to the pump. Once you remove the pump from the engine with the 3 mounting bolts, just pull it up out of the hole, tilt it off to its side a little bit like this, then you'll be able to get the remover on it and leave the line still connected. A little bit of penetrating oil can sometimes help, but it's pretty tough to actually get it in where you need it. Take your tool, the smaller size goes around the lip of the pulley. Can't forget to put in the remover. Take the 2 halves, put the middle piece in, put the collar around them, like so. Your jam bolt. Tighten it by hand. You're going to put a wrench on here and a wrench on there. You're going to use a 1-inch wrench on the bottom nut and a 1/2-inch on the jam nut. Place a rag on your hose, your radiator hose. Once the pulley's off, I like to just wipe the pump down a little bit. Clean it up. Get some of that spilled power steering fluid off of it, and dust and dirt. There you go, it's time to put on the new pulley. First, you're going to want to take this stud and thread it into the shaft on the power steering pump. When that's good, then set your pulley on. Make sure you put your pulley with the lip to remove it towards the front of the car in case you ever have to take it off, or if you want to upgrade to that fancy polished one. Put your thrust washer, bearing, a nut, thread the jam bolt down, to the edge. Spin that onto the stud. Make sure everything is centered. Place a rag under the pulley so it doesn't bang around a lot. Remove your installer. Make sure that it's flush in the front. Give the pulley a spin. Make sure it spins free. By installing the top bolts first, the alignment for the bottom one is pretty much set for you. After you tighten down the power steering pump, make sure you reattach the serpentine belt. Check all pulleys all the way around top and bottom to make sure that the grooves are securely lined up. Then you can reinstall your air hoses or anything else you may have taken off. Well, thanks for tuning in. Job's all done. Took just over an hour, a little longer with the filming, but overall pretty easy job. Thanks for watching. Take care.